So we'll start with the concept of nouns and adjectives in Arabic language. Okay. So as I told you, we are not going to be starting with the grammar theories, the parts of speech and this and that. A lot of books does that, but I've seen that in the beginning, these theories really doesn't help much. So it's much better to start with something practical, and then as we get a little bit more comfortable, inshallah, we will talk about a lot of those theoretical aspects as well. But this first lesson would be a little bit dense in a sense that we will cover many things. My whole goal is in the first day for us to be able to very comfortable, at least we understand like a sentence. We can make some sentence. We understand like major elements of Arabic language. Okay. And it starts with the nouns and the adjectives. Okay. Nouns and adjectives. So we'll start with a very initial list of vocab. So here comes your nightmare, right? Because when you see words, we get frustrated. Inshallah, I think majority of these words you already know, and if you don't know, you have to know. Okay, there's no way we can say we're learning a language without memorizing words. It just unfortunately doesn't work. Okay, so I've added words which are both nouns and adjectives, and we need to, inshallah, I'm gonna go through them right now just to make sure everybody knows this word. And also I'm going to write down the meaning. So as you can see, we will spend some time in vocabs in the class as well. Okay, so because that's very, very important. If I just leave it up to you, something that I'm not going to feel comfortable. Now, so in this list, I think I have about 40 words here, which includes both nouns and adjective. And it says try to identify which ones are the nouns and which one adjective. Inshallah, we'll do them as we go forward. But here's one interesting thing that you should know from the beginning. The default ending. Okay, maybe I should just mention one small thing before I start. Uh, uh, I always start with this example when I talk about the first lesson because this is the most basic thing that you might need to know. Uh, this is what is kalimatun, right? The word is kalima. The way Arabic language works is that they dedicate the last haraka. These are haraka, right? Fatha, kasra, fatha, and also we have dhamma. These are called haraka. Why do they call haraka? Haraka means movement. So they move the sound. So you have kaf. With a kaf, if you don't move the sound, if you don't, you can think of vowel. What does vowel does? Vowel moves the sound. Without vowels, you cannot pronounce consonant. Okay, if you have S, T, D, and you cannot pronounce that. But if you add vowels here and here, now you know how to pronounce. It's the same concept, right? So the kaf itself, you can pronounce, you need a vowel to move the sound. And we have fatha, so ka, ki, ku, right? So simple as that, you understand. So these are vowel movements. So the last vowel movement, they usually leave it for the grammar. Okay, something that I think I mentioned many times in my previous classes. They leave this one for the grammar. So if you change this one, we have the word kalimatun. But if I say kalimatan or kalimatin, okay, or kalima tin tan, it will not change the meaning. It will only say these words roll in a sentence. So that means grammatical issue. The meaning will not change. Whether you say kalimatun, it still means a word. Kalima means a word. If you say kalimatan, it still means a word. If you say kalimatin, it still means a word. Now, the only difference is, for example, Muhammad is a Muhammad, but is Muhammad is the one who's doing the action or something is being done to Muhammad? So that's the difference. So with Fatha Dhamma and Kasra, these are the differences we make. Inshallah, this is we will spend a lot of time in this, so I don't worry about that. But what I want to say is that the previous ones are actually used for the spelling. So this is your kalima. So you need to put these vowels to make the spelling right. Otherwise, you'll make the spelling mistake, which means you may end up having a different word with different meanings. Okay, so this part is spelling and my handwriting, if anybody knows, it's very difficult to read. And this is a grammar. Okay, this is very basic thing you need to know. So what he's saying here is that the default ending, you see, look at the ending. The default ending for the nouns and adjectives is tanween of dhamma. So it will be kalimatun. We're not saying kalimatan, kalimatin. If we want to say kalimatan and kalimatin, we need a reason why you're saying this. Of course, we can say it, but we have to have a reason. Without any reason, the default, this word you'll hear me saying a lot. Okay, default is, it's always going to be dhamma with tanween for the nouns and adjectives. And with the exception, inshallah, we will learn them as we move forward. For example, the first word we have Rabbun. Okay, Rabbun is, how do you spell, translate Rabb? Rabb honestly is a very comprehensive word. It has many different meaning, but simple translation that we do is probably we'll say Lord, Lord, okay? Then we have Ilahun. Okay, Rabbun, Ilahun. Ilahun is God. So some of them I will go pretty fast, just to make sure. And I might not be able to go through all of them, honestly. Let's see what we can do, but this is important. We need few words before we can get into the chapter. Rasul, messenger. Okay, Rasul, messenger. Yom is day. Yawmun. As you can see, all of them has tanween at the end. Rasulun, Yawmun, Kitabun. Kitabun is book. Okay, Ardun. Ardun is earth. Okay, it's kind of sounds similar, doesn't it? Abun is father. Okay, and mother, Akhun, brother, Ukhtun, sister, Waladun. Waladun can be son, and it can also be boy. Waladun, okay? It can get two different meanings. The meaning will be clear based on the context. Bint is same thing. It can be a daughter or it can be a girl. Okay? Kabir. Now, Kabir is big. Now, my first question, is Kabir noun or adjective? So far, looks like all of these things that we had, these were nouns. Kabir is an adjective, right? So it is an adjective. So is Saghir. Saghir is small. Another thing that you might find beneficial when you learn something and you can learn the opposite meaning at the same time. For example, Kabir and Saghir. They're opposites. So if you memorize them together, it might help you. The Rajul is man and Imra'atun is woman. Kareem is kind. Talib is student. Okay, Azim is great. By the way, if I don't have haraka somewhere, please, if you have hard time, let me know because I actually typed it in. When you type in Arabic, putting this haraka is extremely difficult. You have to press shift and it's pretty difficult, okay? So if you need to know what the haraka is, let me know. And since I already mentioned to you that the ending is dhamma of tanween, I don't have to write it. You already know. It will be, for example, here it will be azimun. Okay, azimun, which is great. And ajrun, ajr. You hear this thing a lot in the Quran, which is reward. Okay. Now, qamar is moon. Qamarun. Shamsun is sun. Sama is sky. Sama can be sky or also can be heaven. Okay, heaven. Then nar is fire. Nar can also mean hellfire. Okay, so but by itself, nar means fire. Then you have Jannah. Jannah is heaven. Jannah can also means garden. So when you read in the Quran, you have to know the context. For example, in Surah Al-Kahf, when Allah was mentioning about the two friends, the Jannah at that time it meant garden, not the Jannah as heaven. Baytun is house. Aswad. Aswad is black. Okay, here now you can see something that I wrote the ending, but I did not put tanween. Here's, of course, I just mentioned the default is that all will have what? Have what? Tanween of dhamma. So most of them you can put tanween of dhamma, right? But here we have aswadu. We'll talk about this type of word. I put them purposely because we'll need this word. We'll talk about this kind of words when some words cannot take tanween. Okay, they're very special word and a little bit tricky words. Okay, so for example, we have abyadu. You don't say abyadun. You say abyadu. This means white. So just keep in your mind that default is that it will take tanween. The nouns and adjectives will take tanween, but oftentimes you will see some words they don't take tanween, and inshallah you will learn and you can recognize which word should take tanween and which word should not take. It will be very easy when you study them, inshallah. Huwa is a pronoun, is he, and hiya is she, and hada is this, and هذه is this. So here comes another tricky things. I will talk about this one. This هذا we use for masculine and هذه we use for feminine. We'll talk about this one. So just I need to make sure these words you understand what they mean. So for now, just think about both هذا and هذه. Both of them, they mean this. Okay. And mu'minun, believer, and kafirun is disbeliever. Yad is hand. Okay. Ayn is eye. By the way, this word ayn in Arabic has tons of meanings. Tons of meanings. To the point it gets a little bit confusing sometimes. One of the meaning in the Quran you find is spring. Spring when the water comes out, right? Ain also means other things. So, the spring, the default is ain, of course. I mean, I, but this meaning you should also keep in your mind because this meaning comes in the Quran as well. Wajhun is face. Okay. And it just like in English, when you say face, we mean face as a human face or any face, but we can also say face that way. Right? Face that way. What do I mean when I say face that way? We mean direct. So it can also mean a direction. Okay. Sayyara is car. But the Quran, when Sayyara word came, it meant a little bit different, like caravan or something like that, because at that time they didn't have car. Shajara, shajaratun. And another thing, of course, you guys know them already. When you stop in a word that has ta marbuta, you say sayyara. You pronounce this as a ha, not as a ta. You don't say sayyarat. You say sayyara. And shajara, which is tree, and masjid is mosque. So not so bad, right? I'm pretty sure most of these words you know. I purposely added, I give you the word that's not so much difficult so you don't get a lot of discouraged. You feel like, oh my God, that's good. I know most of these words. Okay, so that's great. And if you don't know, please memorize them. Now the question is, I will give you this PDF, okay? I will definitely give you this PDF, inshallah, by today, right after the class. I'm not sure I will be able to write the meanings in the PDF or not. Let's see what happens, okay? And next time I will try to give you the PDF before the class so you can print them out and take notes during the class. I think I should have done that before. Any questions with any of these words? Should be fairly simple. Just remember, we're dealing with nouns and adjectives. So everything you see here is noun. For example, the adjective would be aswad. Aswad is black. So black is a sifa, it's an adjective. And we also had Saghir and Kabir. These are adjectives. Most of them are honestly nouns here. And second thing we mentioned is that the default case for the endings are a tanween of Dhamma. So double Dhamma, right? Rasulun, Yawmun, Kitabun. Now, and we also saw there are some words, they don't take tanween. Inshallah, we'll talk about them soon. Now, the first thing that we want to talk about is definite nouns. So everything that you have seen here are all indefinite. Hopefully, you understand this concept of definite and indefinite. Indefinite is something that there's no specific. I say a pen, you have no clue what pen I'm talking about, but you know it's a pen, but you don't know what pen I mean. If I say give me a pen, you can just give me any pen. But if I say give me the pen, now you need to know I'm being specific, and you also need to know which pen I mean. Okay, so that's a definite. So in English, it's very simple. You say a pen, okay, and then you convert, you just add the word the, and then you make it into a definite, okay, the. So in Arabic, we have something similar to it, okay? We use the particle alif lam. So when you add alif lam to any noun, that noun becomes a definite. Very simple. But there are some rules. For example, one of the rule is, we'll work, let's take one example from here. Al-kitab. Okay, so you have kitab, kitabun, and we said all we need to do is add alif lam. So we have alif lam and we add kitabun. Okay, so how do we do this? You'll find that there's some particles or some words in Arabic, they don't or they cannot stand by themselves. Okay, they need to be connected. They are joined letters or words. They need to be connected. So alif lam is one of them. You cannot have al kitab like this. It needs to be connected. So what happens is that you just simply connect this lam with the first letter of the word. Okay, al kitab. So everything else is same. You just add alif lam. Now, from your tajweed, from the Quran classes, you would also recognize, you would also remember that when you add alif lam, any word that has alif lam, some words you pronounce the lam, like you say al-kitab, we are pronouncing the lam, and some words you don't, like ash-shams. If I were to put alif lam here, what would happen? You say al-shams? No, you say ash-shams. Ash-shams. So these are called huruf shamsiya and huruf qamariya. The name of this huruf comes from these two words, qamar, because when you add alif lam to qamar, you have to pronounce lam. So you say al-qamar, al-qamar. And when you add alif lam to the word shams, you don't pronounce. That's why they name any words that you pronounce alif lam, they are huruf, or the the letters of word of qamariya. Okay, so for example, qaf is one of the huruf qamariya. So that means when you have a qaf, you have to pronounce alif lam. And then you have words or letters which starts with the word starts with, then you don't pronounce alif lam. Inshallah, I think this is not the our topic. I just wanted to bring up if you're confused a little bit here. These things comes from your Quran class or the Arabic reading class. Fahmtum? Now, so what happens here is we are adding the alif lam to the word kitab. So you have al-kitab. Now, the main rule you need to know here is number one, of course, the word is for the is alif lam. Number two is that you connect both of them. Number three is that alif lam and tanween, they don't coexist together. So you can never have tanween. What are tanween? Tanweens are double of any haraka. Like double fatha is tanween of fatha, double kasra is tanween of kasra, and double dhamma is tanween of dhamma. So the rule of alif lam is that alif lam and tanween, they don't come together ever in Arabic language. So this is one of your first golden rules. Okay, in Arabic you always find exception, but this is one of the rules that there's no exception. So what do I do? So I don't put anything in ba? No, you put the ba, but you just remove the tanween. So when I say remove the tanween, what I mean is that just remove one of these haraka. I had two, right? Kitabun. So I just remove one of them. So we have al-kitabu. Remember, guys, you cannot change the haraka. You're just removing tanween. So you cannot say al-kitaba, al-kitabi. You cannot change the haraka itself. Whether you say dhamma or you say dhammatain, they're both of them are same haraka. Okay, they're both of them are dhamma. Whether you say fatha or you say fatatain, they're both of them are fatha. Okay, so it's the same haraka. You're just removing the tanween. You're just removing the tanween. So you say kitabun, you say al-kitabu. Very important thing to remember, okay? Once you know these things, guys, then making anything just like English, the is very simple. You can just add alif lam to every single word here, and then you can make it into, not every single word, I'll talk about them, which words you can. Then you can make it into definite. Okay? Easy enough? For example, we give you a rule here. So adding alif lam, right? And you must remove the tanween, one of the double vowel, regardless what that vowel is. It could be for some reason you have kitaban. Okay, for the grammatical reason, instead of kitabun, the word is kitaban. But now you need to add alif lam. Do you say al-kitabu? No, you say al-kitaba. You cannot change the haraka. If it was kitabin, kitabin for some reason, and you want to add alif lam, you say what am I writing? Al kitabi. I change one of the haraka. I cannot now go back to dhamma. No. Okay, you can't change the haraka, you just remove the tanween. Hopefully that is clear, inshallah. Now here's what I meant that some words you can't. Proper nouns, like the names, Muhammad, Khalid, Muhammadun, Khalidun, they're definite already, right? Where we are adding alif lam to make something definite. But the names of an individual person, they're definite. When I say Muhammad, we know who you're talking to, right? When we're sitting together and discussing about Khalid, we know which Khalid. We're not just talking about random Khalid in the world. We know exactly that particular Khalid. So that is definite by default. So proper nouns, they are definite. So you cannot add alif lam. Okay, فهمتم? So we don't add alif lam to the names. Same is true for pronouns. Pronouns are also definite. Okay, when I say he is a boy, we know exactly who he is. Okay, when Allah uses the word, for example, huwa, we know in the Quran, we know here huwa means Allah, or here huwa means the Prophet. So we will know what that pronoun refer to. Okay, so the pronouns always are definite. Any types of pronouns. We have two types of pronouns that we saw so far. One of them is standard pronouns like uh, huwa, which is he. And we saw also another special type of pronouns. They are called demonstrative pronoun, which is hada. Okay, hada, which is this. This is also pronoun. Pronoun is something that replaces the noun. So when you're pointing at a item, it has a name, but you're instead of using that name, you're pointing. So that becomes a pronoun. Okay, so you say hada. Uh, I'm not sure if I mentioned that to you. Remember this word hada and hadihi, they have a dagger alif. Okay, so what it means is that there's a hidden alif there. So you don't say hada, you don't say hadihi, you say hada and hadihi. I think you know that already from your Quran classes. فهمتم? So in the pronouns, we're also not going to be adding alif lam. It doesn't make any sense. You say the, he. Most of the time, guys, when we study Arabic, we get frustrated why there are rules, but we don't realize the language that we speak, it has exactly similar rules. We don't say the Muhammad, we don't say the he, we don't say the this. Then why would we assume we can say this in Arabic? There might be some exceptions, but majority of the time, all languages work pretty much the same way. Now, does it make sense? So far you understand? It's extremely simple, guys. Making anything into definite with alif lam is very simple. Just remember, alif lam needs to be connected, and you better remove the tanween. That is absolutely must. Here's some important thing, which I just mentioned to you before, that some nouns and adjectives in Arabic do not take tanween. And we've seen one of them, like aswad. And also some of the names you'll see Ahmadu. You say Muhammadun. You say Muhammadun. But when you say the name Ahmad, you cannot say Ahmadun. You say Ahmadu. And Aisha too, or Amina too. Okay, these names you cannot say Aminatun Zainabun. No, you say Aminatu Zainabu. And I mentioned to you that we will heavily talk about these things in future lesson, inshallah. This is a very important topic in Arabic language. We will learn about these words more detail, inshallah. Here I just wrote something just because this rule is fairly simple. Maybe this will help you. For now, it may be useful to know that female proper nouns do not take tanween. Female proper nouns, any female proper nouns, somebody's name, female names, they will not take tanween. Doesn't matter which names it is. Zainab. You cannot say Zainabun. You have to say Zainabu. Zainabu. Okay? Amina. Amina. Two. Any female names. Does that make sense? And I give you another one, as well as non-Arabic proper nouns, whether it's male or female, doesn't matter. You know, female we already know. Any names will not take it. But any non-Arabic proper nouns. Non-Arabic names will also not take tanween. Now, which ones are non-Arabic names? You understand, you know, for example, any English name, George or Mark, if you make it into Arabic, then you cannot put tanween. And also in the Quran, most of the prophets' names are non-Arabic names, right? Most of the prophets' names are non-Arabic names. For example, the name Ibrahim, Ibrahim, Ibrahimu. You don't say Ibrahimun, although you say Khalidun. Okay? But you cannot say Ibrahimun, you say Ibrahimu. Same thing with Ismail, Ishaq, all of these words. Fahimtum? So just remember, don't worry, we will come here and we'll discuss a lot. Just if you're wondering what's going on with this word, you have something to work with. Now, we'll do a little bit of exercise. So this exercise will be for you to do in home. Inshallah, if you really need help with that, this is a good opportunity to work on them. Basically, here you'll go back to this list. You'll go back to this list and add alif lam and practice adding them and also removing the tanween. I'll just do one or two and then inshallah move. For example, you say mu'minun, you say al mu'minu, al mu'minu. But what's going to happen when can you say here huwa and then add alif lam? No, because this is a pronoun. So you can say al huwa. It's just huwa. You can't. And what about happen here when you want to say the white? Another thing maybe I should mention here. Look, what I said, in Arabic, you make any indefinite nouns or adjectives into definite. So in English, that concept is not there. We don't say, we don't make an adjective definite by adding the. We don't say the white or the fast. The definiteness will come from the noun if we're adding the to the noun. For example, if we say small boy, it depends on how you look at it, because in English we add the here, so it sounds like we're adding actually to the adjective. No, actually the is coming to the boy, because if you remove the adjective, you have the boy. But in Arabic, we can add alif lam to the adjective as well. Okay, and why would we be doing this? Why would we want to do something like that? Something very strange. Inshallah, we'll do it right today. Inshallah, we'll talk about them. But just know you can. So for example, we have this صغير. صغير is small. And this is an adjective. It's describing something that is small. So we can add alif lam to صغير as well. We can say الصغير. 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 Same thing with Kareem. Al-Kareem. Al-Kareem. Al-Karimu. And the same rule applies. We need to remove the tanween. Any question, guys? If you can understand this much, we have covered one of the main fundamental of Arabic language, okay? Adding, which is the definite case. So inshallah, this is a milestone. Now, next concept that we need to understand, which is extremely another very fundamental to Arabic language, is the gender. Guys, gender. What do we need to know about gender? So first of all, in Arabic, we have two types of genders. Okay, we have masculine, which they call mudhakkar. So al-mudhakkar is masculine. By the way, this word in Arabic, you don't have to know them. I'm not trying to push you a lot harder on memorizing some of the grammatical terms. If you know them, ahlan wa sahlan, very good. If you don't, that's fine. But the concept you need to know. So we have masculine, which is mudhakkar, and feminine, which is muannath, just like in English. Okay, masculine and feminine. So now, if you look into the words, for example, a walad is boy. Walad is boy. So of course, this is a masculine. And then you have bait. What is bait? We just went through bait is house. Bait is house. So, and kabir is big. Now, from English language perspective, the house being a masculine or the adjective big being masculine, it really doesn't make any sense. But if you're coming from other language, for example, France, and I'm not sure about the other language, like Spanish maybe, there's a few other language which this same concept applies, where each word, every single word, doesn't matter if that word relates to human being or not, every single word will have a gender, and Arabic is exactly the same thing. So any object, baitun, which is a house, has nothing to do with gender, but we need to know what gender of this word it is. We're not talking about the gender of the house. It's not like it's a feminine house. So no, house is house. We're only specifically talking about the word. Is this word is masculine or feminine? Okay. So for example, here, some of the example of masculine, yes, we know the bait is masculine word. And the kabir is big, or sagir. Okay, or sagir. Sagir is small. What is small has to do with masculine or feminine? Nothing. But the question is this word itself is masculine or feminine? We say this is masculine. Okay, so we have a masculine word. An example of feminine word is bint. Now this one is very simple and easy. We know the bint is girl, so of course girls are what? Feminine. So this is obvious. But then we have sayyara. Sayyara is what? We just learned it, is car. So now the question is, why are we saying sayyara is feminine? First of all, is car has anything to do with masculinity or femininity? Not really. We are talking about the word. Okay, we need to know if the word is masculine or feminine. This word is feminine. Now look what happened. We have kabira. The kabira is same thing as kabir. It also means big. Okay, kabira is also means big. Sometimes I think I forget to put haraka. Hopefully, I will remember to put them during the class. And also, a lot of these words, when I repeat second time, first time I might put the haraka, but if I repeat the second time, you should be able to recognize and you should be able to know. For example, even if I put walad here, you have to read waladun because of the rule that I mentioned to you. The default is tanween, baytun, kabirun. Now, so here, kabiratun. Okay, kabiratun is big, but this is feminine. Why are we saying that these words are feminine, these words are masculine? What type of magic is this? Is there any rules? Yes, there are rules, guys. There are rules. Uh, yeah, I said gulta. Yes. So this is called ta marbuta. Ta uh, marbuta. If somebody doesn't know what gulta means, I think gul in Bengali, or I don't know if other language, it means round. Now, so how do we know? So what is the magic going on here? So it is by first thing you need to know, one of the way that I want you guys to think about Arabic grammar especially is try to learn from the default perspective. This word, so everything has a default state. Okay, so if you know the default state, then you can work your way when something goes outside of the default case. But if you study advanced grammar courses, they will explain a little bit differently. But I think this concept of default is very, very useful. So we are saying the default of the words are treated as masculine. So what is the default of any word in Arabic, any word, whether nouns, adjective, and whatnot, that it will be treated as masculine. So I see a random word, kitab. Okay, random mode. Okay, I have to default by default. I have to assume that this is a masculine. So your life becomes already easier. You don't have to think about, oh, how do I know masculine and feminine? So by default, you will assume that this is masculine. Okay. Now the question is, so how do we know something that is feminine? Unless there are indication to suggest the word is feminine. So there has to be, in order for word to be feminine, we need some indications. Among these indications, I'm using the word among to tell you that these are not exhaustive list. There are other ways we can recognize if the word is feminine or not. But these for now would be more than enough for you, inshallah. Okay, these will pretty much cover probably 90% of the case scenario. So among these indication is number one is word refers to feminine person. This is the most obvious one. If the word refers to a feminine, we don't care about anything else. That is feminine. Okay, for example, ummun is mother, so that is feminine. So all the discussions are closed. Bint is a daughter or girl, so that is a feminine. Aisha is a name of a female person, so that is what? That is uh, feminine. Quick question. What haraka do I put here? One Dhamma. Okay, so that's interesting. She's saying one Dhamma just to make sure she's not wrong. What about this one? Muhammad. What haraka do I put here? Hmm? Dhammatain. So Muhammadun. The last one is Ismail. Ismail. What haraka do I put here? Or whatever I put here? Hmm? One Dhamma. So this is your foreign name. So Muhammad is your default, but we just mentioned to you any feminine names, any feminine name takes one Dhamma. So the first issue is that if word refers to a female person, then Alhamdulillah, that's the most basic case scenario. Then we treat that as a feminine. But here comes the most interesting and important rules. If a word ends with ta marbuta, what one of the sister mentioned, gulta, ta marbuta, then it is almost always, here's the keyword, guys, the keyword. It's not your golden rule, as I mentioned to you with alif lam and removing the ta marbuta. This is almost always a feminine word. So if you have a word that ends in ta marbuta, you can safely assume that it is feminine word. Okay, so for example, we have shajaratu. Now you know exactly why we said the shajara, we didn't have a shajara here, or sayyara was a feminine, because we can clearly see there's ta marbuta. So this is a very clear indication that this word is feminine. And we had kabira. Here, the kabir doesn't have ta marbuta, so we say this is a masculine because it's a default case. And then we see a ta marbuta. Now we say this is a feminine. Okay, so we have shajaratun, kabiratun, and jannah. Jannatun. Jannah is also feminine because we have ta marbuta. Make sense, guys? Very, very simple. This rule is important, but also please do know that not always here. except if word refers to male person. Okay, so good. I did not realize I wrote it down. So same thing. If the word refers to male person, then there's no discussion. We're looking for gender. We got our gender. Like Muawiyah. This is one of the Sahaba. Okay. Then we have Hamza. Of course, we know the word Hamza, another great Sahaba. And also like Khalifa. Khalifa is not a name of a person. Khalifa is not name of a person, but it has a ta marbuta. But what is Khalifa? Who becomes Khalifa in Islam? Right? It's always a male. So that's why when you say Khalifa, we know it refers to a male person, then that rule doesn't apply. Whether it's ta marbut or not, that doesn't apply because that is more stronger. Okay, stronger is actual gender. And the other gender, those are metaphoric gender. Okay, so actual gender is more important. So this is an exception you may want to know. Okay, and this is very rare and everything. So, I just give you a few examples when this is not the case, but majority of the time you have ta marbota. You can safely assume that the word is feminine. فهمتم? Now, these are not super important, but it's good to know. Okay, so when you review them, you will know because these words comes in the Quran, and then it will be, if you don't understand them, you may get confused why they're using feminine gender from the grammatical perspective. So we have an interesting rule in Arabic language: any body parts that comes in a pair, like two, then it will be considered as feminine. Like Ain, we just learned Ain. Ain is eyes. So here human beings, they have two eyes. Whether one particular human has one eye or not, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about human being. They have two eyes. So the one eye, when you dealing with one eye, then it will be referred as a feminine. Why? I don't know. That's the rule that Arabs set for us. Okay, that's the rule that they do. So we will treat the word eye as a feminine. And same thing is udhun. Udhun is what? Udhun is ears. So human has two ears. So that means now we will consider udhun to be a feminine word. As you can see, there's no other indication. There's no ta marbuta, right? But because of this rule, we will say udhun is feminine. And same thing goes for yad. Yad is hand. Because we have two hands, we will also consider as feminine. What about wajhun? Is this feminine or masculine? Who wants to answer?
Masculine.
Masculine. So why you say masculine? Because as far as we know,
Only one face.
yes, we only have one face. Now, ahsantum. Now, another word, this is, again, these are the things that usually normal grammar book will not talk about, but Quranic grammar book needs to talk about because this words comes in the Quran quite often. And if you don't know, you'll get confused again. We have some specific words that Arabs treat them as a feminine. So there's no rules for those. Here, at least we know some rules. Okay, body parts come in a pair. As strange as it may seem, but at least we have something to work with. But these words, they don't have any particular rule. It's just that the Arabs, they treat these words as feminine. So we have to know them. Just like you and I, the normal Arab who's native Arab speakers, they also have to know. There's no rule. So they have to learn just like you and I. And some of them are very strange. So you have Jahannam, which is hellfire. This is treated as feminine. Nafs. Nafs is, here I'm giving you a few more additional words. Please make sure any word in this book or any words that we use in the class, you must know them. And if you forget, let me know. I will write it down for you. Nafs has many different meanings. Nafs could be soul. Nafs also can be self, like yourself. Okay, it can, and it has other meanings as well. Now, this one they treat as feminine. There's no ta marbuta, right? But nafs, self, can be masculine self and also feminine self. For example, if I say nafsi, we'll talk about this, how do you say myself. I'm a male person, but the nafs here, I'm using the word nafs, and another sister can also say nafsi. But the word itself, although I myself is male, but the word itself is feminine. Then we have as-sama, or sama. Sama is what we mentioned is sky. They use as feminine. Shams is feminine. And as you know, the word qamar is masculine. This is weird, right? If you read any literature, you will see that usually they use the moon to be beautiful and they connect with female, right? But in Arabic, qamar is masculine. Shams, which is much more brutal, hard, and hot, they use as a feminine. Why? We don't know. I heard a logic from one of my teacher, Dr. Kram, but I'm not sure it goes with all the words. And dar is another word that you will see in the Quran a lot, so you better memorize it. It's same thing as bait. Bait, and bait is house, right? Dar. But bait is masculine, but the word dar is feminine. And al-ard, which is earth, is feminine, and harb is war, is also feminine. Okay, so just know that there are some words, not many, guys. And it's honestly, you can count them. I have a feeling it's probably not going to reach more than 20. I might be wrong, but I have a feeling it's less than 20. So it's not many words, just some words. That's the case. They treat them as feminine, so you have to know them. And then other words, and there's some words can be either way, like sabil or tariq. I don't want to include everything here, just as long as you understand the concept, inshallah, the rest you can learn as you go. But at least concept in your mind that some word can be without any rules. So now you know. So which words are they? You'll learn them as you go. And did I mention all the body parts here? No. So if, for example, leg, rijlun, so even though I did not write here, you have the concept in your mind. As long as they come into pairs, then it is feminine. So now you know rijl or qadam would be feminine words. Now, another thing to note that in Arabic we don't have any neutral gender like it. In English we have it. Okay, so that's where whole confusion came, because when we talk about book, in English we'll refer to as it, because in English we don't consider it has any gender. But in Arabic we said that we don't have it, and so what do we do? It's very simple. We just mentioned to you that each of these words they have the gender, so we will use that gender. So if we're it, by it, if we mean a pen, qalam, then what is the gender? We will not say it. Instead of it, what we'll say in English? Who wants to say what we will say? What pronoun we'll say in English for the qalam? English word. What English word pronoun will use for the word qalam? Nobody knows. No, the English word for
Pen.
the pronoun he. Yes, he. So it doesn't have any it, so we'll say he. It sounds very strange. We say he is a pen, you know. In English, we'll say it is a pen, but in Arabic, we'll say precisely like that, he. So what is the he? In Arabic, we just learned huwa. Use the pronoun for the word qalam. We have no other choice other than using huwa. Okay, so these are the concepts that you need to be familiarize yourself with. And same thing if we are talking about a car, which is sayyara tun, we have the ta marbuta there. So if we want to say it is a car, we will say hiya. We will use the word here. Okay, we will not use huwa. Okay, so these are the concept of the gender. Now, as you can see, this is a very fundamental, this gender concept, you must know the gender of the word, because if not, you will make tons of grammar mistakes. Okay, these grammar mistakes will be a big problem. It will almost be you are looking at a sister and you are saying he is a student, and sister will be very upset indeed, right? So if you don't know the grammar, you will definitely make this kind of mistake. And the grammar, sorry, the gender. So the gender is embedded in Arabic language. It's one of the fundamental, okay, for each and every word. And as I keep on mentioning to you, if you don't know the gender, you will be making grammar mistakes. So now the question is, how do we convert an adjective into feminine? Before I even do that, my first question is, why would you even want to do something like that? That answer will be coming into the next chapter. Just quickly tell you so that your mind is at ease as we do this exercise. When we describe a noun that is masculine, we will use masculine adjective. Okay, small boy. So this boy is a masculine, and we're describing the boy with an adjective small, right? Now we can say the same thing, small girl. Now we're describing the noun which is feminine with the same word small, right? So we're talking about adjective. In Arabic, when you do that, when you're describing a noun that is masculine, then you have to use masculine adjective. And when you're describing with a feminine, you have to use feminine of that adjective. Now here comes another weird, strange, right? How do we say small in masculine and how do we say small in feminine? We just had to deal with adjective being definite, the small, the boy. Now we also have to deal with adjective being feminine. Yes, my friends, that is the case. Okay, when that's how Arabic language works, you have to use feminine adjectives. So now we know we have to figure out how can we make an adjective into feminine. Okay, the word is, for example, kabir. We know we just learned this kabir. I want to say, or the sagir in this case, I want to use it, but I'm telling you, you cannot use this word to describe a girl. Say bint. I'm just telling you that you cannot use it, but you're like, oh, brother, I need to use it because I want to say a big girl. Bint. Okay, so we need to know how we can make this kabir into a feminine. Good news is extremely simple. That's the good news. Okay, this is very simple. This is what I wrote down. We need to make adjective into feminine when describing a feminine noun. All adjectives and some nouns can be converted to feminine by adding the ta marbuta. Remember the rule that we mentioned? Whenever we see a ta marbuta, it means a feminine. Well, guess what? We can use that same technique to make a word into a feminine. Okay? So all adjective and some nouns, not all nouns. Okay, some nouns, only handful of them. We can convert into feminine by adding ta marbuta. Okay, so how do you do this? For example, I'll work with this one first. Kabir, the same one, kabir. And what happens? we add the ta marbuta and we say kabira. Of course, we'll go into details. There's some changes happening with the haraka. We'll talk about them, but I just wanted to show you in bird's eye view for now. So we have the word kabir, which is a masculine word. How do we know masculine word? The default is masculine unless one of those conditions are met. So none of these conditions are met. There's no ta marbuta or nothing. So we assume this is a masculine. Now we make it into feminine. We simply add ta marbuta. Okay, so we say kabira or kabiratun. Uh, so now I'll explain to you how do we do that. I thought I wrote it down the steps, but anyway, very simple. So let's start with another one, Kareem. Kareem. Karimun. So initially remember the word ending with tanween of Dhamma, Karimun. Now we want to add ta marbuta. The first thing we need to do, guys, is easy way to explain this one. When you add ta marbuta, you take this haraka, whatever haraka this last word had, you take it and put it into the ta marbuta. This is step number one. You haven't added anything, but you know that this tanween of Dhamma, you will be adding at the ta. If it was tanween of fatha, guess what? You will be moving it into the ta. And then, so the second question is then, okay, I brought the tanween of Dhamma here. I brought it here. So what happens here? What goes here? Here's your another golden rules. And keep on reminding you, it's very difficult to find golden rules in Arabic because there's a lot of exception. Every rule in Arabic has exception. Here's your golden rule. The haraka before ta marbuta always, 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 always is fatha. Okay, so your life becomes extremely simple now, right? You just remove the haraka, you just take the haraka of whatever the last letter had, you put it on to the ta marbuta, and then you just put and then you place it with fatha. Simple as that. Okay, so let's do another one. Let's just say for some reason, for some grammatical reason, you had saghirin for some grammatical reason. Okay, so now you have saghirin. Now we need to add tamarbuta here. What do? We put this haraka here. So tamarbuta now is going to have what? Double kasra, the tanween of kasra, kasratain. And what do we put in ra? A fatha. Saghiratin. Saghiratin. You understand? Simple enough? That's pretty much the rules, guys. It's not super complicated, honestly. So what we'll do is this concept of an adjective and everything we'll discuss in the next chapter. So don't worry too much about that. Right now, we just need to know how to do that. So when we're ready, we're able to make these changes. So for the exercise, what I asked you guys to do is identify words that are feminine and feminine from the list that I gave you and mention the reason. Why do you think is feminine? This is something inshallah we'll do right now. And then we also want to convert adjective from masculine to feminine. Of course, this one we cannot do all of them. We'll do only some. So I will randomly give you some words, and then you can tell me. Just quickly type M for masculine and F for feminine. Okay, and then next exercise we will. If I ask next exercise, we will convert them. Okay, first one is yawmun. Is it masculine or feminine? Yes, another thing to remember, when you say feminine, you need to give me a reason also. Or maybe I will ask you, why do you say it's feminine? So I have masculine, I have feminine. So the word yom, which means day, can I have another answer? I have another one, is masculine. Okay, yes, so remember the default. Default, we want to assume the word is masculine. The default, it is masculine word, unless we have one of the reason. Yom means day. Does Yom mean some feminine name? No, it's not. So that doesn't work. Does it have ta marbuta? No, it doesn't have ta marbuta, so it's not feminine. Is it part of body parts in pair? No. And is it one of the special words? No. So far the tools that we have looks like all of them are failing. So from that perspective, we have to assume the default, which is it is masculine. Okay, so this word would be masculine word. Kitab, same thing, right? It's very important, guys. If you don't know if kitab is masculine or feminine, you cannot say a big book, small book, nice book, bad book. You cannot use any of these adjectives. If you do, and you will make mistakes. So that's why it's very important. You might find very silly, if you've studied them, it might be silly, but I'm assuming you guys don't know. Yes, it is masculine. Ahsant. Now, this one, ukht. What does ukht means? Anybody know? I already mentioned ukht. First, tell me, is it masculine or feminine? Ukht. Okay, so I have one as a feminine sister. Ahmed is his sister, so that means feminine. Ahsantum. Yes, good. So this is feminine. Now comes a little bit tricky ones. Uh, almost done. I think all of them we already talked about. I don't have so many examples here, to be honest with you. Okay. Shajaratun. What is masculine or feminine? Huh? Feminine. Uh, uh, Shajara is tree. So we will consider this one as a feminine because it has ta marbuta. Okay, because it has ta marbuta. Okay, remember when we have ta marbuta, then we don't say the tree is feminine. That's not what we're saying, guys. We're saying the word is feminine. Sayyara, we have ta marbuta. Okay, so I'll give you another one. For example, uh, hmm, anf. What is anf? Anf is nose. Okay, now tell me if this is masculine or feminine. Masculine. Okay, so that's good. Qadam. As feet. Okay, yes, good. It's feet. So we have two feet, so that means we consider it as feminine. These things, honestly, these special rules, don't worry too much about them. But unfortunately, I don't have any tamarbuta, many of them, because this would be very easy. Imra'atun, which is woman, so that means it is feminine in both ways. It is feminine, realistic speaking, and it also has tamarbuta. Okay, I will give you another one. Madrasa. Madrasa. First of all, madrasatun means school. Madrasatun means school. So now, is it a masculine word or feminine word? School. So school has to do with what school got to do with masculine or feminine? Nothing. But the word has tamarbuta, so we consider as a feminine. I think you guys are good with this. Now we will see how we can make it into masculine, into feminine. Uh, so for example, the word azim. Azim is great. So we said the step of making a an adjective into feminine adjective is by adding tamarbuta. And the rule is that we take the last haraka, okay? So we take the tanwin of tamma and put it into tamarbuta, okay? So first of all, we need to add the, wait a minute. The, I'm almost done. Okay, so we added the ta marbuta, but now we have to work. Look, just like alif lam, adding the ta marbuta is very simple. You just connect at the end for ta marbuta, and alif lam you connect at the beginning. But now what we need to work on is the haraka. What we said about the haraka is whatever haraka we had in here in the beginning, we move it, to the ta marbuta. So we put tanwin of dhamma. And we don't think about anything else. We just put the meme, whatever we had before, we just put a fatha. So the rule is haraka before ta marbuta is always, always a fatha. Okay, haraka before ta marbuta, always, always a fatha. Uh, I'll give you another word. So for example, we have qasir. Qasir is short. Okay. Sagir is small. Qasir is short. But if I want to say qasir, how would you, and at marbuta, how would you pronounce? You say qasira. Okay, there's no exception. You see the tamabuta, even if somebody does not put the haraka, I didn't put any haraka here, okay? Even if I don't put the haraka, it's very easy for you to pronounce, okay? All I need to do is give you this haraka and this haraka. And here you know what to put on the ra. You just put a fatha, okay? This one, inshallah, hopefully you guys are getting this one. If not, let me know, I can repeat. But I think that's fine. That's all I wanted to. But for your homework, you can try to uh, find out which one of them are feminine and which one of them are not. And also some of them, whatever we have, like Sagir, Kabir, try yourself to make them into feminine. Now, I wanted to mention one more thing is that I mentioned to you that some of the nouns we can add tamarbuta to make it into feminine, right? Some. And which one? And I'll mention to you some of them. So for example, Uh, when we say, for example, this is ab is father. So how do you say mother? Do we add alif ta marbut at the end to make it into feminine and make it into mother? No, it doesn't work that way. Okay, this one will not work. Same thing with akh. They have a separate name. But ab has another word which is also used in the Quran. Walid. Be careful. Walad is boy. Walid. So this word comes in the Quran a lot, which means father. So difference here is that ab sometimes can be father, it can be grandfather, it can also be a person that you consider to be father, meaning it does not have to be biological father. Okay, it could be, but it's saying you can use in a conceptual ways. Someone you call, you're my father, you're like my father, then you can use the word ab. But walid, this is biological father. Okay, so that's the difference. Now, how do you say biological mother? Here, this is a noun, right? Here you can add ta marbuta and it becomes mother. Walida. Walidatun. So now it is mother. Okay, you can do that. In some words you can, and some words you cannot. Okay, so that's why you have to know. For example, uh, I'll give you an example when it doesn't work. For example, maktab, mak, maktab means desk or an office. Sometimes what happens when you add a ta marbuta to a noun, it actually becomes another brand new word with new meaning. So if you add ta marbuta to the maktab, it becomes maktaba. Maktaba. Anybody knows what maktaba means? Maktabatun. Anybody knows? What happened to my chat window? Library. Maktaba is library. Yes, so now it's not the same thing as your desk. So that's why you have to be careful when you're adding ta marbuta to a noun. It may give you a result that you're not expecting. Okay, فهمتم? Now, so for example, this one will work. Mu'min. Mu'min is masculine Muslim. But how do you say feminine Muslim? Mu'mina. Mu'mina. Mu'minatun. As you can see, the rules are very simple. This tanween, I put it on the ta marbuta, and then I just put fatha in to the letter before it. So this one would be kafiratun. Kafiratun. Okay, for female disbeliever. Okay, so sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work, but make sure, but it will always work for the adjectives. Okay, so that's something good. Any adjective you have, like tawil. Tawil is this is something you don't have to know right now, but I'm just trying to give you a little bit more example here. Tawil is tall, but how do you say tall girl? You will use the word tawila. طويلة الله المستعان. طويلة. فهمتم? You see, you're converting this adjective into feminine adjective. So it's very simple to do. Just add ta marbut, okay? Very simple stuff. But it does require, if it's the first time you're learning these things, guys, you have to do a little bit of exercises, because Arabic language is like a math. If teacher explains to you in the class, you will feel like, oh, I understand, that's pretty simple. But if you have never done them, the exercises, guess what? In the exam times, you have no clue. It's not about understanding it, it's about practicing it. Jayed. So that concludes the first part. Now I don't have so much time, but we will start talking about this new next part, where we bring all of this that we learned into we combine these rules together. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll study about simple adjective phrases and sentences. So now this is where we will see how we can use adjective with nouns to make adjective phrases. Adjective phrases are like, for example, you say a small boy, and adjective sentences. Because remember, you can describe a noun you can describe a noun using adjective in two ways. You can, which one of them is adjective phrase, like we have a small boy, and you can describe that noun in a complete sentence. You're saying the boy is small. The meaning is exactly the same thing. You're just trying to say the boy is small, like small boy. So you can say it in a phrase, a small boy. You can also say in a sentence, the boy is small. Sorry, the boy is small. So in this lesson, we learn both ways how we can do this in in Arabic language. First, I want you to look at these sentences or these phrases and see if you can figure something out. First one says waladun saghirun, and here it says al waladu saghirun. Uh, you know what? Next one I'm going to ask you, so make sure your fingers are ready. So we have kita, kita bun. I'm doing this one for you, but I want to know what is the haraka goes here. Remember to think about the default. The default is what? If we don't, if I did not give you any rule yet, so you have to think about default. I haven't given you any rules to change the haraka. So that means default is always double dhamma. So you say jadidun. Default is always double dhamma. And later we'll learn a little bit more grammatical perspective. Okay. So, but here al kita, what haraka goes here? And I will put this one jadidun. This one. It goes one dhamma because of alif lam. Okay, the rule that we learned, it was kitabun, we had no problem, but because once we add alif lam, we cannot have tanween, we have to remove the tanween. Now, I want you to just look at these two sentences, not sentences, two different columns side by side. Maybe I should remove my my thing so it's easier for you to look at them. Just these, compare this column with this column, compare this column and this column, and see if you can spot the difference. What are the difference between waladun sagirun and al-waladu sagiru, kitabun jadidun and al-kitabu jadidun? What's the difference? Looks like almost the same. Okay, I have one al prefix. Everybody agrees with that? Okay, al, yes, looks like everything else is same except for al. Is there any other difference? Not really. If I look at it, look like that is the only difference. But look what we're saying. We're saying these column, they're adjective and these are sentence. Okay, so the definite is, you have to be very careful with which words are definite and which words are indefinite. Because in Arabic, when their definiteness, meaning the adjective and the noun, if they match, then it becomes a phrase. And if noun is definite and adjective is indefinite, then it completes a sentence. Okay, so this is number one. Inshallah, we'll talk about this. But the first thing that you notice here. So look what it says. Noun always comes first before the adjective, which is not the case with English. When you do adjective phrase, you say small boy, right? But in Arabic, we do the other way. We always bring the noun first, then we describe it. So look what we have. Waladun, waladun, saghirun. So this becomes an adjective phrase. Just have your noun first and any adjective that you want to describe, just put them side by side. You have an adjective phrase. Okay? Agreement between the definite agreements of definiteness between the noun and adjective is important. Why? If adjective agrees with the noun in definite or indefinite, then they become adjective phrase. Okay, for example, if you say this one, we have al-waladu as-saghir. But what if I say al-waladu as-saghir? What we said is that if, saghir, صغير. If their definiteness matches. So remember, you have to know which one is adjective. That's why the meaning is very important, guys. You have to know the meaning. You cannot just play with the words if you don't know what they mean. Sagir is small, so this is an adjective, right? And walad is boy. So now we said the noun comes first. So we have the noun boy first, and then we're adding adjective sagir. But we said when they match the definiteness, then they become a adjective phrase. So you have waladun sagirun and al-waladu as-sagiru. Now I want to know, someone, can you tell me the difference between the first one and the second one? Can you translate both of them side by side? Just translate the first one and then comma and translate the second one. What do you think they mean? Why you have al-wala, you have waladun sagirun and you have al-waladu as-sagiru. A small boy, the small boy. Ahsanti. Yeah, ahsantum. So that's the difference. Now you know why we need to add alif lam to an adjective. Before it did not make sense because in English we don't. Because in order to make an adjective phrase, we have to match the definite or indefinite of the noun. So if the noun, if you want to say a small boy, meaning you want to make the noun indefinite, then you need to make the adjective indefinite as well. So you say waladun saghirun. Kitabun jadidun. So a new book. But now if you want to say the new book, you have to add alif lam to the noun, which is obviously. You also have to make alif lam to the adjective as well. So you say al-kitabu al-jadidu. Al-kitabu al-jadidu. So when the definiteness of adjective matches, then it becomes a phrase. But look what happened, what we said here. If noun is definite and adjective is indefinite, then it completes a sentence. So if you make a mistake, you just put something simple as that. You said al-waladu, then you forgot to put alif lam here. Well, nobody's going to complain because guess what? You wanted to make an adjective phrase, but you end up making a sentence. That's what I think Sister Farhana was translating. The boy is small. So anytime you have a break between the definite and you have a break with indefinite, you have a sentence. And when they match, here this is definite, this is definite, and here you have indefinite, indefinite, then they're adjective. Okay, so this rule is a little bit tricky, but is very important to note. فهمتم? So remember, adjective, they always match the definiteness of the noun. So they have to match. But when you make the noun into definite and adjective into indefinite, it becomes a sentence. How easy it is, right? So now say next thing I want you to notice something here is look into this sentence and tell me if you can see anything other than the rule that you learned. Of course, we just learned that this is a phrase, so this is indefinite, so they are phrase. If I wanted to say shajaratun kabiratun, that means a big tree, a big tree. But if I want to say the big tree, so I will say ash-shajaratu al-kabiratu. So this rule we already learned. And we have, when we make the noun into definite, ash-shajaratu, and adjective, we keep it into indefinite, kabiratun. Wow, it's a sentence. Very simple way to make a sentence. So now you're saying the tree is big. So it's a complete sentence. But do you see any other interesting thing here from the relationship between the noun and adjective? Both matches the gender with tamarbuta. Ahsanti. So remember what we say. The word is kabir. How do you say big? You don't say big when you want to find how to say big in dictionary. It will not say kabira. It will say kabir. Kabirun. That's the word for big. But we have tamarbuta here. Okay, same thing when we described here, we also have tamarbuta here. So what we learned is that when an adjective describes a noun, regardless whether it is it is an adjective phrase or a sentence, doesn't matter, your gender needs to be matched. You need to match the gender. فهمتم? So you're describing the tree to be big. Well, I cannot say shajaratun kabirun. That's again grammar mistake. You understand? So you have to, that's why we need to learn those rules of gender. But I want to say the tree is big. I still have to say ash-shajaratu kabiratun. I don't say ash-shajaratu kabirun. Although if you want to say al-bayt, al-baytu, what word would you say to say the house is big? Huh? You will say the standard word, masculine, kabirun. Al-baytu kabirun. Because you're describing a masculine object. So that's why these things are a little bit tricky and we have to pay special attention to the genders. Otherwise, we will make a mistake. But here, as you can see, this is very simple stuff, guys. To make adjective into adjective phrase and sentence, the only thing is, so far the difference, what we see from here at least, is that what is the only difference? Only difference is that we make, in the sentence, we make the noun into definite and we keep adjective into indefinite. Okay, you say kitabun jadidun, but if you say al-kitabu jadidun, it becomes a sentence. If I just add alif lam here, it becomes a sentence. But what happens when I add alif lam in both of them? Again, it becomes back to adjective. Okay, one of the things that usually I always, some of my older students are here, they always know. In the beginning, I always teach them a very interesting technique, is that if you have I plus I, indefinite and indefinite, it is an adjective. If you have definite and definite, it is also an adjective. There's exception to all of these things, but this is something that very helpful in the beginning. But if you have definite and indefinite, this is a sentence. And we'll learn what happens indefinite and the definite. There's another construction we have in Arabic language, which is possessive case. But if you at least know this much right now, you would be fine. Very simple stuff. Okay, so any time you have their definiteness agreeing to each other, you have to consider their adjective. Phantom. So let's see if I'm missing something. If noun is definite and adjective is indefinite, then it completes a sentence, except if the subject is pronoun. I will talk about this one a little bit later, details. I don't want to put exception when you're learning the major rules. Okay, there are exceptions to these things, which we'll cover maybe inshallah next class. In both cases, adjective must agree with the noun in the following ways. Whether both cases, I mean whether you're talking about adjective phrase or adjective sentence, they must agree with the gender. So if the noun is masculine, your adjective needs to be masculine. If noun is feminine, your adjective needs to be feminine. And that's why we learned how to make an adjective into feminine, right? Simple, just add ta marbuta. And they also have to match into plurality, meanings like whether the noun is singular or plural. Something that we'll study, I think, in the next lesson or so. So today, the main thing that I want you guys to know, because honestly, we cover, believe it or not, the stuff that we covered today, if you go back to the Medina book, at least 5 or 6 lessons of the Medina book we've done when it comes to conceptual grammatical perspective. That is a little bit fast-paced, but I wish I can explain more. But I have more material, so I added additional materials to see how fast I can go, and then these would be a little bit of advanced. Now the next section is a similar thing, but a little bit advanced. So I will see how much of them I can. Let's see. So here, a little bit advanced, is not that complicated, which is adjectives. Okay, so this one I will have to explain this part also. I'll leave this one aside. I'll just only mention this one. You can have multiple adjectives and you can chain them. For example, I can say the, I can say a small, fast boy. So you say a small, fast boy. Now, as you can see, small is an adjective and fast is also an adjective. So you can chain them, okay? So the way you do in Arabic, the rule stays the same. You bring the noun first, and then you write in an order, because when we translate, we'll read the last one first. So when you say rajulun kabirun, rajulun kabirun karimun. So we read in English, when you translate, we read from the back. So you read the Karim first, then you read the Kabir. So this is a little bit tricky things that you need to know. So a proper translation of this would be a kind big man. A kind. Although Kabir comes first, Rajulun Kabirun and Karimun, but you will translate a kind big man. So the kind comes first. Okay, this is something subtlety that you need to know. Same thing with this. You can chain al-baytu al-bintu as-saghiratu al-jamilatu. So you will read from the back. The beautiful, small. You say the here. The beautiful first, then small girl. Okay, so something to keep in your mind. This part I don't have time to go through them. Inshallah, we will talk about nominative sentences, the parts of it, the subject and predicate, this little bit of grammatical notion here. Later, I'll just use another 5 minutes only to see some of the examples from the Quran, okay? So right now, we don't have all the tools, all the knowledge to actually read a complete sentence from the Quran, because we need to know a lot more grammars. But these are some excerpts from the Quran, from the middle of the verses that you can appreciate. So we have huwa Qur'anun. So how would you translate huwa Qur'an? Here, as you can see, huwa is he. We said he. So if you were to translate, you would say he. First of all, just tell me, first thing you have to tell me, is this a sentence? Is this a sentence or adjective? If you have this thing in your mind, guys, inshallah, you will be fine. In the beginning, it really, really helps. These two are adjective, and this one is sentence. It's not a golden rule, but it works a lot. So you look to the first one. Is huwa definite or indefinite? Is it definite or indefinite? D or I? Guys? So it is did. Huwa is pronoun. I mentioned to you, you have to know these things. These things you must know. All pronouns are definite. All pronouns are definite. Okay? And all names are also definite. So huwa is a pronoun, he. So it's a definite. And Qur'an, definite or indefinite? Qur'anun. There's no alif lam, right? And Quran is not name of anything, right? There's no alif lam, so it is indefinite. So as soon as you have this kind of break where you have a definite noun and indefinite adjective, then it becomes a what? It becomes a sentence. So this is a sentence. So you say huwa Qur'anun. Now the question comes, how would you translate this one? You say he is Quran. Now you have to remember another rule that I mentioned. Huwa, in Arabic, we don't have it, right? We don't have it. So we have to use one of the pronoun for that particular gender. So the Quran is masculine, so we have to use masculine pronoun. So we say huwa. But when we translate in English, we have to say it is a Quran. I don't have so much time. Inshallah, we will probably do some of the review, or what you can do, I'll post this one in the Google Classroom. Please look into them. Try to put all the haraka that yourself. So for example, you say هذا يوم. Okay, so you put haraka and try to see which one is adjective and which one is not. And inshallah, I think I have to wrap up here.